Now I would like to invite Dr. Bhavani, Director Agriculture, Nutrition, Health Program from MS Swaminathan Research Foundation. She is Project Manager for Leveraging Agriculture for Nutrition in South Asia and leads capacity strengthening for the program. A postgraduate in Economics with an MPhil in Planning and Development from IIT Bombay and PhD from Madras University. Dr. Bhavani has worked on food and livelihood security at MSSRF for over a decade. As Director of Food Security, she coordinated research and field projects initiating MSSRF's work in the Vidarbha region of Maharashtra in 2006. Between 2004 and 2006, Dr. Bhavani was on deputation as officer, special duty with National Commission on Farmers formulated by Government of India.
So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for the coalition and Sitara for bringing to this rich congregation of people working in this sector. And I would like to take off from Rajshri in terms of the need for seeing placing nutrition gardens in the context of the larger food systems, and this is like one component that is necessary and a very essential component. And we'll quickly run through because a lot of what I've has already been shared, and participants here are aware of what is meant by the nutrition garden, kitchen garden. So, but the different models that are possible, essentially, we're looking at it at household level, and it's been spoken about it having at the institutional level, Anganwadi centers in schools and the primary health centers, and at the household level, depending on the availability of land. The community, again, can be on common land, can be on land taken on lease by a group. So there are, can be different models. Just in terms of sharing the specific experience I'm going to be talking about, in how the evidence on improvement in dietary diversity is based on the study that we did, is promoting a farming system for nutrition approach in Wardha and in Koraput under the research program on leveraging agriculture for nutrition in South Asia. Lansa Anchal is actually a program which has ended, so I'm no longer project manager of that, and that was a little outdated profile that you had. But anyway, currently leading the agriculture nutrition health program at the foundation. And so this is something we worked on with these group of villages, and promoting the area available is an important component that will decide how much can be grown and what can be grown. But essentially our focus was on ensuring that all three groups of vegetables are included and fruits. So making that available in terms of seed kits and the essentials of having a crop calendar, and in terms of the food availability, again, looking at crops and fruits that the community is aware of, what is locally available and what is nutrient. In terms of having a seasonal calendar of vegetables and providing the seed kits, and most importantly, having a nutrition awareness as a very, very important component in this whole exercise. So in the schools, it is where the middle school level children and the school cook, the teachers get involved, and then through the students, it goes home, the message goes home, the importance of consuming vegetables and including it in the daily diet. And this is something where we have evidence of students speaking that earlier they were not consuming green leafy vegetables, but now they have, they insist that their mothers cook. Especially in Wardha, we had this problem of very limited land being available at the backyard. So community nutrition garden was a model that we took up, and this was on forest land in one village, on panchayat land in a couple of other villages, and essentially again where the women have a shared method of management and undertaking the maintenance and then sharing the produce. And where there is surplus, they decide what is to be done with it. And most often we found that they were either giving it to the school, sharing with neighbors, and in some cases selling the surplus. But nutrition awareness is a very, very important component across all this in terms of having it at, when your household level, when you're promoting it, so interacting with them and talking to them about it, having focus group discussions with different groups, with adolescent girls, with youth. The first presentation when Nirmala spoke about the importance of the youth getting involved. So including both men and women, girls and boys, and having this approach. And similar to the PLA exercise, participatory action research that we have been working on is community hunger fighter approach, where we ask men in the community to identify men and women from amongst themselves who can undergo this training in a participatory mode and have an understanding of how to source nutrition from the resources available from the agriculture and the forests, given that it's largely this community that we were working with, more than 40% were the tribal population and in close proximity to the forest area. And linked to that also recipe demonstrations, also how do you increase increased availability for long periods of time beyond the growing period. So just to quickly share some evidences in terms of between when we started in 2015 to when we ended in 2017-18, there was increased creation of vegetables by households. This is the case of Koraput, the different vegetables being promoted is listed. In terms of roots and tubers, one change we brought in was to promote orange flesh sweet potato for addressing vitamin A deficiency. And here the linkage with the Tuber Crop Research Institute was important. So this is in terms of the change that we saw following at the end, and we did the end line in terms of increased frequency of consumption of all the food groups, and also the increased quantity of intake of all the vegetables and also of fruits. And in particular, this is for the particular period of the June to September monsoon, through the monsoon period again, in terms of you find increased consumption. And also in terms of how it compares with the recommended dietary intake given by the ICMR. And similar was the experience that we found in Wardha in terms of, again, increased number of vegetables being cultivated by households. So where they were majority were cultivating maybe just 1 or 2, you had now more cultivating 4 or more vegetables. And the similar in terms of the increased frequency of consumption and the quantity of intake, as well as in terms of comparison with the ICMR guidelines. Now, also in terms of like we found in Wardha, for instance, that although drumstick, wild drumstick trees were there in the villages, they were not consuming drumsticks. So that was something we had to, nutrition awareness played a big role there. Beetroot was introduced primarily for the iron rich component, and it was well received, and orange flesh sweet potato. And again, looking at it was a significant improvement in consumption that we found in both locations at the towards the end of the study period. And in terms of household dietary diversity, looking at all the food groups, taking 9 food groups, we found that there was significant improvement in dietary diversity in Koraput, and in Wardha also, although it was the improvement in household dietary diversity was slight, it was a significant improvement. Now the challenges, these again have been mentioned. So one is the year-round availability. So water availability in summer is a big problem. So how do you, what are the measures that could be taken? Like Anshuman gives some suggestions also in terms of innovations. How do you divert your kitchen water, wastewater to the plants, and addressing cultural taboos in terms of some fruits not being consumed, like I mentioned, a drumstick, and also highlighting what is the richness, the nutrient content in each of these, and how to use the different, like you can use the drumstick pod, you can use the drumstick leaves, and what you could cook with them. So that becomes a very important component. Papaya, it's called Amrit Bhanda in Orissa, so it's like such a rich fruit. So again, emphasizing those aspects. So highlighting the importance of consuming these different fruits and vegetables. The access to seed and planting, quality seed and planting material becomes an issue. Not so much in Orissa, where it's largely more more of tribal, community subsistence-based farming. But in Wardha, where there were more of commercial farming in terms of cotton, soybean dominating. So we had to look at how do you ensure that that seed availability will continue, and then what can be the convergence with the government departments. The government departments also to come in a big way in terms of this, having this sensitivity to promote nutrition sensitive cultivation of fruits and vegetables in the nutrition garden. And in terms of the small area of backyard areas, so the community nutrition garden emerging as a possible model. In terms of where peak cotton growing season, they are not willing to, they're available to spend time at the household. Our emphasis was, okay, grow it in the field, but grow some vegetables and make sure you bring it home for consumption. So this is just to highlight the seasonal availability. And so generally the greater availability is largely during winter, and where there is, post-monsoon, more of moisture availability, and there is more cultivation consumption. And the monsoon, summer and monsoon being less. Similar in Wardha also. So in terms of sustainability, we went on to this community seed banks, having them established in these villages to promote, to ensure that this practice will continue. And it was very heartening to see that a year and a half after the project ended and we were no longer going there directly, when one of the government officials in Maharashtra visited these villages, he found them talking about the nutrition garden and that how it is and continuing with the practice. So this, I would like to focus a little here on how do we now take this forward. Like there is this rich experience that different NGOs have been sharing on the importance of nutrition gardens and how to promote it. So we are working with KVKs, the Krishi Vigyan Kendras, and the Andhra Agriculture University in Andhra Pradesh, and in Maharashtra under the MCAER, Maharashtra Council of Agriculture Education Research, to promote this farming system for nutrition model and a nutrition garden model on 2 cents land, as a bare minimum that households should promote and practice. And through the Krishi Vigyan Kendras, reaching out to the farmer community in the neighborhood and reaching out. We are also another model with the Krishi Vigyan Kendras. Right now, there are 4 up and running. Is in terms of the locally available nutrient-rich fruits and vegetables, identifying what is the nutrient content in them, and then having this demonstration gardens in the Krishi Vigyan Kendras across over an area of 4 to 5 acres, where it's vitamin A rich plants, vitamin B rich plants, or that kind of highlighting being done to serve as a demonstration, as well as for planting material to be made available to the farmer community. So this is now there in Palgad in Kosbad with the KVK there, in Kanpur Dehat, and in Tirur in Tamil Nadu, and in Orissa we have it in our own campus in Jaipur, Koraput. So that's again for having this linkage in terms of supplying the planting material. Another important linkage I feel we need is the agriculture research and the medical, ICMR and ICAR, that linkage has to come in. So the National Institute of Nutrition in terms of providing the information on the nutrient content, and how also to, in terms of monitoring this nutrition status and how that can improve. So that kind of convergence has to come in. It's very heartening to see the government departments getting involved now, the NREGS, the SRLM in Orissa, and that the scope for this nutrition garden, the potential being promoted and accepted and promoted. But these convergences are required for it to get, I really feel too, for it to get upscaled at a national level. Simple processing, again, has been talked about, but again, that's an important aspect, and which could also, Professor Shah, possibly be developed as an entrepreneurial model, which you will be talking about next. So in terms of drumstick powder, leaf powder, curry leaf powder, to ensure that availability is there over a longer period. Nutrition awareness as a must and required across the board, and linkages and convergence I've already spoken about. So that in brief is about our experience and how we are engaged in now in terms of taking this forward in advocating for promotion of this nutrition gardens at a larger level. Thank you.